Hello, everybody. Good morning. And welcome to our SUNY Empire State College presentation on our newly developed Process Improvement Committee. We're sharing this with you today because we're a little excited about it. We believe that if the Process Improvement Committee has helped us in our college with managing our process, that it's likely to be of use to you too. Next slide. I'm Julie Shaw, and I'm Associate Professor of Psychology and Human Development in the School of Social and Behavioral Sciences at SUNY Empire State College. So you're probably wondering, why is it that I would be involved in process? Well, in a former life, in a pre-academic life, I was a systems programmer at IBM and became actively involved in process management and process improvement there at the VM Endicott Programming Lab in Endicott, New York. And as a result of that work, we were the first IBM lab to be designated as a ISO 9001 process management certified lab. So I saw at that location the power of managing process. And when I came here, then I just brought it along with me. Cindy? Slide. So recently, as is true perhaps for some of your institutions, we had a lot of change at once. We had administrative change, we had technology change, we had change in the way that we were structured. So it was clear to me that there might be a place for process management. We wanted to move from the Abbott and Costello, who's on first, trying to figure out who's doing what, where, knowing that everything was getting better, but just having trouble following it, to a well-organized game. So that's what this little metaphor is. Next. So what is the purpose of the Process Improvement Committee? It is for managing college-wide, student-centered process issues. And the first thing we have to do with a process issue is to capture it. Somebody has to send it to us, and we have to capture it. And it's important that when we receive a process issue, that we see it from the perspective of the person who's sending it, because it's their unique perspective that is going to shed light for us on how a particular process that may appear one way from one perspective might appear very differently from a different perspective. So we have the student enter, or we have the employee enter it as they experience it, but then we have a chance to see how that issue fits in with other issues and to transform it to a way that it can be addressed at the college. So first we capture, then we prioritize. We need to understand from the user's perspective if it's urgent. We also need to understand from a college perspective how widespread the issue is. So there are multiple factors that we consider when we're considering how to prioritize it. Then we need to address it. And the management group is so critical here, because they have the insight and understanding to help us know which group can handle it best now, because things are constantly changing. So the addressing it is a seriously important part of this, of course. And then when the process issue has been addressed, then we want to communicate it. And we have many forms of communication, which others will discuss, but we definitely want to see that the person who had the issue feels a sense of satisfaction, and also that others who might be impacted by both the issue and the potential solution, that they would have a sense of how it was addressed as well. Cindy? So what are the advantages of the Process Improvement Committee? Effective implementation. One of the things that will be made clear here is that our process improvement process fits very well with other technology. This is terrifically important. It just slipped in smoothly. It's also based on college-wide initiation, as we said before. It encourages people in any position to submit a problem. We have a documented process that Stephanie Thomas will address, and that helps us know how to behave. And also, when we change the process, it is a place where we can note that and then know how to behave in the future. We have privacy. Now, some people may want when they post an issue, to be known widely. They may be a leader of a team and they want the team to know that they're bringing this issue forward. But others may not want that to happen. They may want anonymity. So we offer anonymity as somebody introduces an issue. One of the things I really like about the PIC is the record retention. Rather than having problems that might occur more than once, come to a committee, end up in emails, become on a list, and then who knows how they might be handled. The record retention for issues with the process improvement is that they go into a database. They're stored there. We can refer to them in the future. We can have keywords to put them in different categories in the future. And that, I think, is a really, really powerful and important part of the Process Improvement Committee. We have bundling of issues. It may be that some issues fall together. There may be a group of issues that impact certain locations, certain roles, or there may even be a syndrome where a number of issues kind of give us a sense of an ailment that we need to address. So bundling is a hugely important part of this. And then again, communication. Let me bring that up again, the importance of communication. Thank you, Cindy. So this is a wonderful group, as I said, and let me introduce you to all of the players. I'll go in alphabetical order, although the pictures are not alphabetical. So the name and the pictures are not matched, but you can see each independently. So Teal Abel, Cindy Bates, Cynthia Berger. Oh, we got a pointer. Excellent. Pamela Enzer, Cynthia Flynn. She just retired, yeah. And Thomas Kerr, John Lawless, Julie Milner, Robin Oliver, Julie Shaw, Stephanie Thomas, and Laura Waite. So I've introduced you to the committee, and now I want to move on. I was just here to introduce, and now I will move you on to the very important role of administration. And John Lawless and Pamela Enzer will talk to you now about that, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Thank you.
Pam, you want to start out?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Pam Enzer. I am the college registrar at SUNY Empire State College.
Hi, and I'm John Lawless. I'm a professor in the School of Behavioral and Social Sciences. At the time when this project started, I was the interim vice provost for academic administration. And so, Julie, next slide. Cindy, thanks. I'll start out with one of the things that we wanted to do, the importance of it, having administration be part of this, is that it provides a holistic view of the college processes that the Process Improvement Committee may not know about. So it's really trying to connect current administrative work to the recent, to what we're seeing. As you can see, we have the registrar, we have Office of Academic Affairs, we have information technology services, we have some support staff, professional employees. So we're all in our different silos, so to speak, but this having an administrative there provides a holistic view of what's happening across the college and tries to tie those things together. Pam?
The next thing that we found really critical was to make sure that there was a good feedback loop between administration and the Process Improvement Committee. Administration sets a lot of different priorities, and to make sure that the different items that are coming up through PIC get communicated back to the administration, which may either align with the current priorities or help realign the current priorities.
And also having an administrator aboard helps the other offices engaged. Although the higher administration of the college, of SUNY Empire State College, knew about this project and was supportive of it, they're busy with their own work. They're focused on their own administrative tasks. And so sometimes if email comes from a member of the committee, this having somebody like the vice provost engaged and the registrar engaged helps to kind of kick it up a notch to be able to say, this is an important issue. This is something that will help the entire college. Please pay attention to these emails as they come. And not that, I don't want to give any indication that no one was supportive of it, but it just helps provide an additional support for engagement.
So another thing that's really critical is that it not only helps set priorities for administration, but it also helps the committee prioritize the ticket issues across the different offices. So as the registrar, and a lot of issues come up surrounding our systems and registration and different ways to help our faculty advise and work with students. And so by seeing all of these coming through, we have a lot of discussions about how best to prioritize certain issues that come up and look for ways to move forward with these improvements.
Yeah. And the last thing is identifying key people as contacts. We might know of people that work in different parts of the college, different members on the committee, but they may not know kind of the workload, who has the space and time and available to address the issues. So having key administrative liaisons helps to identify key people as contacts. And I think one of those is who we're going to hand it off to right now is Stephanie Thomas, who was a key person in helping us kind of visualize this process. She is the business process manager. She is much more than that. Very instrumental to this process. So I will hand it off to you, Stephanie.
Thank you, John and Pam. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As John said, my name is Stephanie Thomas, and I am the Business Process Manager for SUNY Empire. I was asked to come in early to support the Process Improvement Committee's work by facilitating the build out and development of the process itself. As a group, we met and documented everything from how suggestions would be submitted through how we were going to communicate out to the college community all the work that this wonderful committee is doing. And I'm going to take you through those steps that we documented. I just loved and appreciated the work and saw the value of this group so much that I found myself a permanent fixture on their committee, and I'm so grateful for that. You could say that I came in to set up the field for the big baseball game and then stayed for all 9 innings. I'll show you a little bit more about the process now. Next slide, please. Okay, so the process improvement. Like I said, we documented it on paper before we ever put it into action. You could call this the blueprint for the process. So it starts with any employee across the college identifying a gap or a need in any given process. From there, they can submit a process change request via our online form, which Cynthia Berger will take you through after my little spiel here. So the employee can submit the request themselves. It's an online form, or as Julie mentioned, they can use an ombudsman if they really want to remain anonymous. We allow for that confidentiality. Once they submit that form, the system assigns it to our process group. And then 2 notifications are sent out from the system. One goes directly to the submitter themselves and lets them know that their suggestion or request was submitted. And another notification goes out to our process group that a new request has been submitted and needs action. From there, we have a process group lead who will triage and update the request. Now that's one little box, but there's a lot of work that goes into that. All of the committee members will take on the role of process group lead. We do it a month at a time, and we've got a schedule built out all the way through 2022. And what that person, whoever is the lead for the month, will claim ownership of the ticket. They will review and research the issue. They may add additional stakeholders to the ticket. If somebody outside of our group needs to be brought in, we can add them to the ticket so they can get involved early. They're going to update the request with any additional information, keeping the submitter informed at all stages. Every time you update the request, a notification would go out to that submitter letting them know that we're actively working on it. And then at some point, they're going to update the recommended solution and also identify any appropriate divisions that might be impacted with this change or suggestion. Now, we always try and respond at least with a hi, thank you for your submission. We're working on your ticket now within 1 business day, just so that we keep everyone informed along the path. Once we have a recommended solution, we're going to report or post that solution out. And this can happen in a variety of ways. If it's something very minor, maybe no change was needed, but we just needed to give them a little more information, we might just notify the submitter directly via the ticketing system, and that would be the end of it. However, if the suggestion made a change and we want to notify a larger audience, we might use our all-user email group and or a SUNY News article where we publish the results. Then our committee meets bi-weekly. At these meetings, we evaluate solutions. We report out to the community at large. And I'll get into a little more of that coming up via our website. I also told you that we send those articles as well. We also support each other along the path. This is not just because you're process group lead, we don't just leave you high and dry. The committee really supports each other all along the process. We do it via email, but especially at these bi-weekly meetings where we get together and talk through the solutions and get group feedback. Our group is very diverse, as John indicated, with members from faculty and staff and PEs from around the college. So you get a lot of different feedback and input at those meetings. So that's what the process looks like. Next slide, please. So once we got it documented on paper, the process, so we defined it. That was the BPM, our business process model. Once we had that blueprint, we brought IT in for their engagement to show them what we had designed. Then they took it away and really built the product. And Cynthia Berger is going to get into that next. From there, once she built that for us, her and her team, we went through a test and train process. And we really did an intensive hands-on approach to this. We met every week and every committee member played the role of process group lead. Here we learned to use the technology tool. We learned how to work together as a team to analyze all the requests that were coming in. And we did that until everyone felt comfortable with the tool and the process. And then we released this out to our college community in July of 2020. It took us about 1.5 years from concept to release. We've already talked about the anonymity portion, the ombudsman approach. The resources I've told you a little bit about, our committee members, faculty and staff across the college. You've met our administrative liaisons, John and now Pamela. I come from the project management area of the college to support the process itself, and now committee member. And also, last but definitely not least, our ITS support through Cynthia, building that tool. The cost to put this out was pretty minimal. Of course, it took the human resource cost, our time. And licensing will cost $500 per license, but that's only for committee members. That's not for the general college community to use and receive notifications on their tickets. Originally, ITS absorbed the cost of our committee member licenses and will be responsible for future $500 licenses. What tools did it take to make it happen? We needed a web intake form. We needed a way to receive those requests and suggestions, and then a dashboard to support the work. Of course, it took our committee members time and their amazing expertise. And now we have a website to support the work of the team as well. Next slide, please. So any college employee can go to our My ESC portal, and they will see a link there for the Process Improvement Committee. From there, next slide, please, that takes them to our website. This was just released, and as you can see, it is not very fancy. It's really about information. What's highlighted at the top is our process improvement suggestion form. That's how any college employee can submit a new suggestion. And then we have a nice, strong, frequently asked questions portion. And that's everything. What type of suggestion can I submit? How do I submit? What do I expect after I submit? So on and so forth. We also tell the community about the Process Improvement Committee. John and Julie and other committee members gave a wonderful webinar as we were releasing this in July of 2020. So we have a link to that. We share our goals, what we want to accomplish. Of course, we share about the membership and how to get involved. We want to roll this over every 2 years. We want to see new members come in and get involved. And then, of course, last but not least, we have our monthly reports and statistics. We want to share out all the information from the smallest of tickets to the most impactful. Okay, so that is my portion. I am now going to turn it over to the wonderful Cynthia Berger from ITS. She is our Interim Director of User Technical Services. Cynthia, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Stephanie, thank you very much, and good morning. As Stephanie mentioned, my name is Cynthia Berger, and I'm the Interim Director of User Technical Support Services here at SUNY Empire. As the IT representative on this committee, I provided the technical guidance as we work through the technology needs to fulfill the mission of this committee. I came on as a consultant and have continued with my involvement in this committee. Working with this committee has been very engaging and has enhanced my understanding of all the business processes of the college through or beyond that lens of my IT perspective. Could you please advance, Cindy? Thank you. So there were several considerations that went into the decision of what technology tool we wanted to use for the pilot. As the pilot, we had no budget, as Stephanie mentioned, so of course cost was an immediate factor. So it made sense to look at the existing technology in our current enterprise technology stack as opposed to purchasing a new tool. Stephanie mentioned the Process Improvement Committee developed a very comprehensive business model. And when that model was completed, we did recognize that it aligned very nicely with the existing IT service management framework that ITS currently practices at the college. ITS had put in place the IT service management framework using ITIL standards and elements of customer service management approximately 10 years ago. And the ServiceNow business management system was implemented as the ITS management tool approximately 5 years ago. So because we've been involved with ServiceNow, the college community was familiar and comfortable with this technology through their interactions with ITS, and we felt that this would help drive adoption, and the familiarity of the tool would make it easier for the college community to participate in the process. Also, many of our functional area offices who are involved, like the Registrar's Office and Office of Academic Affairs, they actively already have participated in the system because of cross collaboration with ITS. When incidents come in that are technical from a student or faculty, staff, we can then easily transfer over to these other departments because they're already in the system. They were licensed, so they were already familiar with the environment, and they were used to adopt looking at the process ticket submissions that come in through the process committee. They could use those same notifications and dashboards with minimal training. Our CIO did agree to absorb the licensing costs for the committee as part of the ITS initiatives of return on investment on our enterprise tools. So it worked well as a cooperative engagement with the different departments. We did move forward. In consultation with our ServiceNow administrator and developer, we cloned a version of our IT incident management function where the college community typically submits a ticket for technical issues and support. By taking this approach, we were able to simplify that customer user interaction and make it look slightly different from what they see when they interact with the ITS version of submitting an incident. And it was also simplified on the agent view, which is that view that the committee members work within when they interact with the tickets. So even though it was a clone within the ServiceNow environment, we did maintain all the advantages of the key features of the platform. So we have the robust reporting capability. We have the ability to build out extensive knowledge-based articles to drive self-help based on trends that we see with the suggestions that come in through the committee. We have the ability to communicate and document resolutions and changes to processes as a permanent record and a single source of information. And as a future state drive, we are looking to start surveying so that we have that ability to generate automated surveys that will allow us to continue to assess the impact of the committee. Next slide, please. So to give you a quick visual, the form that is accessed through our process committee website is on the left, and that's where they go to submit a ticket to the committee, the end users. On this form, we capture that key information that the committee might consider relevant to pursuing a suggestion, issue, or a comment. Data that's collected from these form variables can be reported on and allows us to identify trends. On the right side is the ticket view that the customer sees once they've submitted the ticket. And this is where they can continue to interact and correspond with the committee members and other staff who might be assigned to help work on that ticket, and they can engage through this interface. Next slide, please. And finally, we developed a dashboard that the committee can monitor all the ticket activity. So the dashboard itself is real time and it allows immediate interaction with tickets. So as Stephanie mentioned, part of the business process, they do receive an email notification, and at the same time it will appear in this dashboard. So committee members and have that option to interact with that ticket either through the email where that correspondence will be continued to be captured, or through the dashboard. The committee can also review ticket activity over time. And the idea, as always, is as the committee moves forward, the dashboard will continue to evolve to meet the committee members' needs when operating in the platform. So on that note, I'd like to hand it over to Cindy Bates, who will talk more about our customer responses and the success we've had so far with this system.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Appreciate that. So hi, everybody. My name is Cindy Bates. We are a committee of three, well, two Cynthias and a Cindy. We also have two Julies. So it gets a little confusing at times. Anyway, so I am a faculty member here at Empire State College. I teach in the arts, primarily theater and film. I'm also a theater director as well. And I came to this committee, as did Julie Shaw, who you met earlier, through our climate committee. our college had put together a pretty wide-ranging group of folks to think about the climate of the college and what was making people happy, what was making people unhappy. And as Julie had mentioned, we had gone through a lot of transition really quickly, and that always gets people, a little nervous or unhappy. So that's sort of how I came into being part of this group. And so what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about some of the examples that we've had, some of the tickets that have come in. So this slide introduces you to some ideas that came in from support staff and our professional employees. And one of the things that we always try to keep in our focus here is that everything we do is for our students. So everything that everybody has talked about so far in this presentation is really so that the end result is a better product for our student, right? So our students feel more supported by their faculty, by their the administrators, by any staff that they work with, and that they have the best experience possible. So one of the ideas that came in was about the mentor assignment process. So here at SUNY Empire, all students are assigned to a primary mentor as soon as they are accepted to the college. And their primary mentor is really with them from day one through to graduation and often beyond, honestly. We're like an advisor, but like an advisor like times 12, right? We do all the sorts of advising things, plus help them develop their degree plan, help them navigate the systems of the college, help them out if they're having trouble in a particular class, finding a tutor, etc. So these assignments are made, like I said, when the student enters the college, but sometimes the relationship isn't quite right? Sometimes the student decides, you know what, I really want a mentor who I can sit down across the table from, who's in my neighborhood, who understands sort of where I live. And I've been assigned a mentor who's 3 hours away from me, and I can only work online with them. So that kind of situation occurs. And so a student might request for a new mentor. And in the past, the mentor reassignment process was pretty long, right? So the college doesn't want to sort of have students shopping around for mentors. So there is a little process to go through, but the process was taking too long for our students. Students were getting frustrated, and it was really becoming a retention issue, right? If I can't get this one simple thing solved, why should I stay at this college? So ideas came forth for a simplified reassignment process that went through the system. It went through all the discussions that it needed to have, and then a new streamlined process was created and implemented. Another idea that came in was dealing with our website and improving our website navigation. So we found that there were certain places in the web where you would submit like an online ticket or an online form, and then it would click you to a landing page that was like, okay, you're done. And there was no way to get back to our homepage, our My ESC portal page that Stephanie showed you earlier. So again, the committee looked at this request. They looked at where it might work. They referred it to the right people in ITS, and the links were added. So these ones came from faculty members. So our faculty probably, I don't know if we have a percentage, but our faculty have a lot of ideas about how to make things better, how to make things smoother. So we get a lot of topics that come in from faculty. So one of the ideas that came in was to deal with prior learning assessment. So at our college, a lot of times, and I know at some of your colleges as well, students have knowledge that they've gained outside of the classroom that they can earn college level credit for. So perhaps they've been a manager at work for the past 20 years. When they joined, they didn't need a bachelor's degree. Now they do. So they can earn college level credit for that knowledge that they gained at work. Or perhaps they've done certifications that they want to earn college level credit for, etc. At any rate, we have a process by which students go through when they are earning that credit. And it's housed in a program called PLA Planner, Prior Learning Assessment Planner. PLA Planner works great if you are setting up sort of, 1, 2, 3, however many of your PLAs. But what happens is if a student, let's say, is moving forward with, they've written maybe 5 or 6 essays for different PLA topics, and they've got them all listed there. And then they say, you know what, I'm going to just do 3 right now, and then I really want to revisit these other ones. There's no way to archive the old ones, right? So your list becomes very jumbled. And for faculty who work with hundreds and hundreds of students, we end up with these long lists of PLA topics that aren't going anywhere because the student has decided to put them on the shelf, or the students had to stop out for a while. And so one of the ideas that came forward was to make a section in PLA Planner that would allow for an archive or a moving of the current topics that students are not working on, which would really help in terms of both the student workflow and the faculty workflow. And then another idea that came in from the faculty, and this really was driven home by COVID and doing everything online. We have a bunch of forms that need to be signed by both the student and the mentor, like the accounting disclaimer form, or if a student is going to drop a class, or they're going to do a late add of a class, etc. And back when these forms were created, the college was very much centered in the idea of face-to-face mentoring. So, 10 years ago, I most frequently met with students in my office in Schenectady, sitting, around a table, and we could sign the forms and then we could process them. And over the years, we've grown more and more into having students who are at a distance. And then, of course, with COVID, everybody was at a distance. And so the forms that we were dealing with during this time, you would have to print out the form, and then you'd sign the form, and then you'd scan the form in if you had a scanner, and then you'd send it to the student, and then you'd ask them to sign it and scan it back in. It was very cumbersome. So, of course, the college made some arrangements because of COVID. But moving forward, it became really clear to us that e-forms are a much better way to go, and digital signatures would be a much better way to go moving forward. So that was another really great idea that came in and that we were able to act on. So those are just a couple of examples of tickets that have come in. We could certainly discuss other tickets that have come in, situations that that we've dealt with. But really, what I wanted to drive home here, this is our last slide, is to say that all of this work we're doing is to serve our students. And so we are doing continuous improvement for how our committee operates. Right, we're always looking at our own processes for what we do. And as Cynthia Berger had shown you, what is the IT side? How is it working for us? Is there something else that we need to do? We've had discussions about a continuity plan for the ongoing work of the committee. We're all very passionate about the committee, but I don't think anybody wants to stay on it for 20 years. So we've been talking about how we will bring new members into the committee, how will we onboard them, so that we make sure that they get the training and the support that they need. And then also a communication plan for encouraging more people to submit tickets. So talking with the different groups of faculty and staff and administrators in our college, and really getting people, it's one of these things, like you're sitting in a meeting online, of course, sitting in a meeting, and somebody says, oh, I really wish we could do this like this. Well, you raise your hand and you go, put that in a ticket and put it into the process improvement committee and see if you can get it to work. So it's a gradual educating of our community to let them know that this exists, so that we can keep doing things that are going to make the experience for our students even better. So with that, I want to thank you all very much for being here. And it looks like we've got about 20 minutes left for question and answer. Okay. And Nicole, are you going to put us up? There we go. Okay, so if you have a question, you can raise your hand or put a question in the discussion forum. Or if anybody's having trouble with that, just go ahead and turn your mic on and speak.
How about we ask a question of you? Is anybody out there doing anything similar, and how are you doing it? We got a shy group here
Great.
today.
I know. I think we're all learning the technology as we go.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Very
I'll
true.
make, I'll make a little comment here. So we were in a situation where there was a lot of change, and then it's like technology transfer. So there was already an existing IT process for collecting tickets on technical issues. It's like, kind of like, yeah, why not map that process onto something that would help us improve process? So maybe some of you have similar situations where you have some existing process that's working really well, and that you can then find a way to bring process management into that existing process. So as Cynthia Berger pointed out, it's ServiceNow that we, if I understand that correctly, she's our technical person, that we, I just know how it works. I'm not as familiar with the innards, but it's like, okay, this works really well. Gee, can't we use it again? And also, do you have something at your institution like the climate committee that is looking out over the all the different aspects of the college, trying to figure out ways to see that things can be improved? I just think there were some wonderful, wonderful things going on at this college that helped us make it happen. And then just like I said, every person who's participated, as you can see, has just done a stellar job. Gold stars, everybody. So thanks for listening.
So we have some questions in the chat. Susan asks, have we considered having student representation on the committee?
Super idea.
Very good idea.
That's again, part of that evolution. That's a very good idea. And we do have very active student participation here at the college.
Right now, students don't have access to submit the any request or suggestion directly. They can definitely go through their mentor or another ombudsman. But what a wonderful idea. We'll definitely put that on our agenda to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing is from Douglas Hemphill. He says, the closest I am coming and why I stopped in is how I am looking at handling intellectual integrity violations. Part of the shift saw an uptick in intellectual dishonesty. As part of working on that, we are working on a new process flow, though we are using Maxient.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think any tool that works for your college and your community is perfectly acceptable. I think really what you're looking at is the foundations behind that tool. Can it manage that workflow process for you? With ServiceNow, again, it was initially built on IDLE framework, and of course they've expanded greatly in their service management, but they had a lot of automated processes already built in that we were able just to, within the IT side, take advantage of. But we've also been able to adapt and broaden the use to other areas of the college, looking at that workflow behind the scenes.
Thanks, Cynthia.
I also want to just highlight the issue, which is a complex issue. And so what was nice about having this committee together is one may look at it, say a faculty member, this is a student issue. Other person may come and go, I wonder if it's a tool that students don't have access to, a tool that could help them understand academic integrity. And so someone from ITS could say, oh, we have these tools available. So the nice thing about this committee is it took something that maybe someone might see from a certain perspective and it expanded perspectives to kind of think through what are different processes that could help address the issue in a more complex, nuanced way. So it doesn't quite answer your question there, Douglas, but I just wanted to say what was really the strength of this committee is looking at something in a very complex way from different perspectives. And it gave better solutions.
Thanks, John. Yeah, and Cynthia. Erica asks, sorry if I missed it, but how do we prioritize the requests that come in? And I will just say that is where we really rely heavily on administration. If it's a complex issue that needs to, that is going to require a lot of resources and a lot of work, that's why we have our administrative liaisons who are marvelous about directing the work of the committee and the college itself. Did you guys want to expand upon that at all?
Yeah, and I think if it's something that's already in the works, because every once in a while there are some suggestions that come in. So over the last year with COVID, we've been internally looking at how to make some of our paper-based processes more electronic. And so there were a couple of tickets that came in that tied into what we were already doing. And so those will float up to the top because they're already in process. And so those are some of the pieces that really influence the priorities as well as the resources that Stephanie mentioned. And if they're already on a priority list with administration as well, all of those pieces fall into that. And I do want to say, I really like the idea that Beth lists in there of having people upvote various suggestions. You know, it's a great way to get community feedback, because I think that's one of the things we are lacking in this committee is we get these requests in from individuals and we discuss amongst ourselves, but then we don't necessarily put it out there for having people upvote ideas or, you know, reinforce, yes, this is also an issue for me as well. So I really like that idea, and I'd love to see if we could find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's, you know, I also, in terms of prioritizing the requests, it's also about impact too, right? Is, you know, sometimes somebody may put something forward and we realize that that change actually has the potential to affect staff, professional employees, faculty, students, and it's something that can be done. So, you know, that might push it up when we realize the impact is greater than, you know, the person may think, well, it's only affecting faculty, it's only affecting staff, when in fact it affects a lot of people. So all those issues kind of come, and the committee has a conversation about that.
Right. And from that technical standpoint, there is, you know, a priority matrix looking at impact and urgency to affect priority. And so when the end user submits that ticket, they also have that ability to let us know. They can say, hey, I think this is high priority and it's affecting all the college locations, or it's affecting different departments. And again, with that information, we can then work out what that priority ought to be and then move forward on a larger level, interacting with the other offices that may be involved.
Thanks, guys. Anything else?
I would like to highlight the particular role that Stephanie's role in this as a transitional point between the input from many different perspectives. All of us had input into the process management process that she outlined. But I think having that in that visual form then made it very practical for the people who were actually implementing it to say, well, this is what we need to do. And the fact that it was in a form that mapped to other kinds of technology tools also made a difference. So that's just one observation I had. If somebody has a good idea, if they can put it in some sort of a process management statement, then it might be that there will be a better opportunity to find a match in the technology for it. Get another key role.
This has been a wonderful group effort. Having such a diverse committee come together to build out this process, like Julie said, getting everybody's feedback, you just get the different perspectives, not only on the process, but on every single ticket. You know, having support staff look at the same ticket that the faculty and the PEs are looking at really just brings everyone's voice together to give a much better solution and suggestion. And adding the student would really, really enhance that even more. Such a great suggestion. Yeah, Cynthia, you're muted.
I do think a student participant on the committee would be a fantastic addition.
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea, and I wonder if this kind of I wonder if we could even go bigger with that down the road, so that students really felt like they could submit tickets to, you know, to a student, totally student oriented kind of process. I think that'd be really interesting. I was going to say something else, Stephanie, and then I forgot it.
Sorry, I hope I didn't interrupt you.
It's okay. It's okay.
Cindy, can I, while you're thinking about it, go ahead. No, go ahead. You got it.
No, you go, John.
What I was going to say is, I think the support, the climate committee really served as an essential part of why this got up and running, and the support of the provost, and helped really stress the importance throughout the rest of the college community. Though that was the initial thing, you know, it came out to the entire college community we were doing this, but having them continue the support. The climate lost sight of this. In fact, the subcommittee was developed to help keep this moving forward. So I don't want to lose sight of the importance of having that committee connected to this committee.
I think that's a really great point, John. And our climate committee is pretty wide ranging, and we have folks who are working on a new bullying policy. I'm the chair of a committee that's working on our ombuds office. We have committees that look at support staff surveys for climate issues, faculty PE surveys. It's a really wide ranging committee, and I totally agree that the support of that committee has been really essential for this work. I know what I wanted to go back to was what Stephanie said about having, having PEs, support staff, and faculty all looking at the same issues, because sometimes, like a faculty might put in a ticket because they want to change something that'll make their life easier, but then it's going to end up making a support staff person's job harder. Right. And we wanted to make sure from the get-go that nothing like that could ever happen. And so I think that's one of the great ways that the committee functions, is that we really get that perspective. And, I do remember us having conversations about taking some of our tickets back to the larger group of support staff, the larger group of PEs and faculty. So I'm really glad that this came up for today. Thank you. Oh, there's a suggestion that maybe the student rep could come from a process management course. What a great idea that is.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we have 5 minutes left. Any other questions or thoughts or suggestions?
Does anybody on the panel want to speak about a favorite ticket or least favorite ticket? You know, it's funny. Sometimes we get tickets that we don't have the technology to support what it is that the person wants to do. So we kind of have to put those in a bucket and say, okay, we'll look back at those in a year or so and see if the technology has changed or if the situation has changed. So, you know, it isn't like we can make every dream come true.
I think one of the things that can be problematic sometimes is there are some people that view it as their own personal complaint tool. So instead of going to their supervisor, if there's an issue with something, they'll put in a ticket. And it's more of a personal issue that they're having or a question. And we do try to reach back out to them to try to help. The other frustration is sometimes, you know, people don't respond. They'll submit a ticket and then we ask for clarification and then there's not any back and forth. And so those tend to linger out there a little bit.
Yeah, great points, Pam. Anybody else? Okay, well, do we want to give everybody 3 minutes back before they go on to their next session? All right. Then I will say thank you on behalf of our group. We very much appreciate you all being here today and for your questions and ideas. Really some great things that have come out of this that we will take back to our larger committee as well. So anybody else want to say goodbye, Julie?
Can I say, I think this is a wonderful group, and I think the panel format was perfect so that as we appreciate, every perspective could be heard through that voice. So thanks for listening.
Great. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.